I learned at quite an early age. My Zio Pietro, my father's brother, he owned a photography gallery in Udine, Italy, where I was raised. And I used to visit him once a week with my sisters. And he had this very high chair that we would all fight over because, well, we were quite small, and the chair allowed us to see everything, and we wanted to see everything. And so one day, this was very early on in my visits, I got to go alone. And I got to sit in that high chair all day long, and I felt like a queen. And the developing solutions were my subjects. And Zio Pietro had a client in the afternoon, so he left me alone with my subjects, and I was a very good queen. I thought that all of the photographs were treasures, and so I very carefully dipped each photograph into the developing solution, and I counted to 10 so that no solution had more treasure than the next. And I remember thinking, if only I really were queen, and I could give out my treasure evenly, we would all be so happy. And then Zio Pietro walked in the room, and his face turned the deepest shade of purple I've ever seen, because I had in fact ruined all of the solutions as well as the photographs. So I was only allowed to watch after that, and I did learn by watching, but it wasn't until my early 20s when I started to work with Edward Weston that I really learned how to use a camera. The thought occurs to me now that although I considered myself quite a benevolent queen, this is by no means an endorsement of class hierarchies. Where did you grow up? Did leaving have an effect on your work? Well, I was raised in Italy and Austria. That's where I learned German. I would like to state for the record that although I have Italian and Austrian heritage, I have no political association to either country, nor any Axis powers, and I support the Mexican government fully. My father, he worked as a machinist, and so he moved us around a lot. He had 7 children to feed, and he eventually made his way to San Francisco in the United States. We had quite a hard time when he was gone. There was never really any food, and we would sometimes huddle together to keep warm. But after some time, he saved enough money to send for my older sister, Mercedes, and then at 16, he sent for me. Genoa, ticket in hand, $100, my most expensive clothes board, the SS Mocha, 2 weeks cramped. Others sick nearby, hold it in, waves crashing against the side of the ship as I look down. Be brave, dizzy. 1 week gone, crashing, splashing, empty stomach, billowing emptiness. Almost there, freedom tomorrow is here, the Statue of Liberty. And then we're off, walk inside, sky-filled windows. Assembling and waiting 5 hours, questions and questions. Yes, I am ready to be part of this country. When I eventually arrived in San Francisco, I worked as a seamstress and then a model, and then I worked as an actress in Hollywood. I filmed A Tiger's Coat, my big hit. I was always cast as a specific type, not your typical leading lady, but a foreigner, often Mexican. When I'm here, I feel Mexican. When I was in the United States, I felt like a foreigner. I don't think I answered your question. But I appeared on the wrong side of the camera, I was told, for many years, to be considered a serious artist. I don't remember what your question was. Yes, leaving did affect my work. In fact, it wasn't until I moved here to Mexico in 1923 that I really began my photographic journey. Actually, can you pull up slide 17, please? Here, I have another silver gelatin print, una pulqueria. As you can see, Robo, my late husband, once said, "There is more poetry in one lone sarape-shrouded figure standing in the doorway of a pulque shop than can be found in Los Angeles in 10 years." Do you feel that? I mean, do you see it? Because Mexico keeps dragging me back. I mean, the architecture alone. Rosa, azul, verde, morado, los colores. All of the houses, most built by the hands of the owner with blooming, brilliant bougainvillea cascading down the side of their metal gates. And then the sounds of the Mexican entrepreneur calling out and selling anything and everything you can imagine. The creativity and resourcefulness of the Mexican person, the pride is palpable. Camino en el zócalo y movimiento siempre, el estruendo. Buenos días, una ciudad y todos se saludan. La comida, México, siempre luchando para que me quede. Next slide, please. I worked as a portrait photographer for many years in my mid-20s, photographing some of the most prominent members of the artistic and political Mexican society. I worked on commission. Here you have my good friend Jean Charlot, Maria Marín de Orozco, Anita Brenner, Carlton Beals, Javier Guerrero, Vittorio Vidali, that is not Vittorio, that is Julio Antonio Mea. Next slide, please. Vittorio Vidali. Vittorio, he's a very powerful, he was my, though some of these people may be prominent communist figures, I'd like to state again that these were all taken on commission, and any political commentary added to them is purely from the viewer. Okay, another question. Were you really friends with Frida Kahlo and Diego Rivera? Is he your favorite muralist? Yes, we were friends. We were in the same circle of artists. They came to many of my parties. In fact, Frida and Diego asked me to host their wedding. We were so close. But I've known Diego for much longer. Diego and I take the train to Chapingo, past the eucalyptus and ash trees, entrance to the chapel. Others did not come today. Diego and I, virgin earth begins anew. Diego stares as he works. I have just undertaken too much lately and I don't have a minute to myself, Diego. It keeps me sufficiently occupied just to print your frescoes. Oh, yeah, but tomorrow I have to go back to the university in Chapingo to model for your murals. Yes, I told him that you were using the fertile female body to represent the fruits of the Mexican Revolution. Yes, I told him sometimes it's my body, and sometimes it's your wife's. Diego, why did you do that? And why not do as the party asked? They were not asking you to give up your things, your paintings. You should have made a public statement declaring that the holding of these jobs did not prevent you from fighting against the present reactionary government. We know the Reds are also reactionaries, but look, You can't paint all the hammer and sickles you want on public buildings without a reaction. Diego, you are considered a traitor. I will have no choice but to see you in the same light. Then from now on, all of our contacts shall be limited to our photographic transactions. Do I have a favorite muralist? I won't say one is better than another, but I find myself liking Orozco's work more and more. I feel his genius, his things overflow with an inner potentiality that one doesn't see in Diego's things, and Diego comments too much. He leaves nothing for the imagination. Let's see, another question? It has been said many of your photographs hold a communist framework. What is your political agenda? I will state again, there is no political agenda in my photography. I have no political agenda. These images are moments of life. There is nothing added to the reality of the circumstance. What would you say to those who don't believe photography is a fine art like painting? It's not important to know whether or not photography is art. What is important is to distinguish between good and bad photography. Were you having an affair with Edward Weston while you were married? My husband, Robo, Edward, and I were very close. Edward was always at our place, and we would, read together and paint. Robo and I would model, and Edward loved to photograph us. But, all right. Now that you are both with full glass of wine in hand, I wrote something. Edward, you're terrible. Thank you, my dear. At least someone is interested. All right. I will read it to you. Plenipotentiary by Tina Modotti, Dorisha. I like to swing from the sky and drop down on your, bounce up again like a rubber ball. Reach your hand down on the roof of the Kremlin, steal a tile, throw it to the Kaiser. Be good. I will divide the moon in 3 parts. The biggest will be yours. Don't eat it too